Welcome back to Learn SKN, and today we have a little update video for you, an update from CXC. CXC held a meeting up in the week where a number of HODs across the region were able to log into Zoom and attend this meeting. And so the information I have here for you today is from a colleague who attended this meeting. And the crux of the matter seems to be the SBA. A lot of information about the SBA came out. So anybody who is sitting exams in 2021, this is a very informative little video for you. And also, there's some important dates at the end of the video that you might want to stick around to see as it relates to examination results when they're coming back and that kind of thing in 2021. All right, so let's just jump right into it. So the meeting was based on a number of issues that CXC would have observed from the previous exam cycle. And so one of the issue would have been internet access, and another one would have been device. The device is owned by participants, low participation rate, and reduced instructional time. These are things that we are dealing with right now for the 2020 academic started year, where, of course, because of the COVID situation, some schools had delayed starts. So these are all taken into consideration. All these issues are taken into consideration, and CXC has made some changes somewhat to certain components of the overall examination experience that would help to alleviate some of these issues. For example, as it relates to internet access, they have determined that students, though, if you're sitting an exam, an e-exam, you don't have to have continuous internet connectivity. You might be able to now download the exam, do the exam, and then upload it to whatever portal they desire. So what this means is that if you have an unsecured internet service, when I say unsecured, I mean in terms of reliability. It's not really reliable. It drops in, drops out, and that would affect your sitting at the exam. Now you can just, when it is good, you download the exam, do the exam, and then you upload it when you're done. So all through the course of you doing the exam, you don't really have to worry about internet dropping in or out, because you would have downloaded the fillable exam, do it, and then you can upload that your exam to the portal. So that's one step in which they have taken to help to make the e-testing a little easier for some persons whose internet access is a little sketchy. And of course, lack of devices, again, this can help alleviate some of the problem. We can go to your computer lab or something like that, download the exam, do it, get somebody else in, that kind of thing. So but this device issue is more of a local underground issue where governments would need to look into this one. I know, for example, in some Caribbean countries, the government actually had programs where they distributed tablets to all the students who said that they don't have any devices, so they're able to do online learning via Zoom or MS Teams or whatever. Then you have the low participation rate. Many territories reporting participation rate as low as 20%, which is very, 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 very terrible. All right, so low participation rate. So to that end, what CXC has done for some subjects that have low participation rate, they've made some moves that would help to not put too much stress on the local resources. And we'll look at that later on. And of course, some people have issues because some of the schools in the region would have started the academic year later than others. And so some people might have questions as it relates to SBAs and deadlines and the syllabus content and things like that. So CXC tried to answer these in this meeting. So the SBAs, treatment of the SBA. The SBA is an integral part of the assessment process. As a set of assessment task assignments projects conducted in the school, carried out by the students following guidelines provided by CXC and assessed by the teacher using criteria provided by CXC, intended to assist students to acquiring certain knowledge, skills, and attitude that are associated with the subject. The activities for the SBAs are linked to the syllabus and should form part of the learning activities that will enable students to achieve the objective of the syllabus. So of course, the SBA is an issue. Strategy now. In determining what, if any, adjustments can be made to the SBA requirements for individual syllabuses. So remember, we said that because some schools would have started later, you might not have enough time to complete your SBAs and stuff like that if it was a normal year. So what CXC has done is that they have extended the deadline for the SBAs, and so all SBAs should be in by May 31st. So I think that's from student to teacher, or the institution should have all their SBAs ready to go by May 31st, 2021. May 31st, 2021. So you can ask the teachers about that so that they can, give you the proper information. Some people have internal deadlines, so it's not written in stone. Some schools have their own internal deadlines. Some countries have their own internal deadlines. But May 31st is one of the benchmarks that you can use as it relates to time for handing in SBAs. Examine the nature of the subjects. Look at skills and competence to be developed for each syllabus. Ensure equivalence in certification across the years. Guarantee that the assessment package comprehensively covered and required a demonstration of competence in all the relevant skills that would have been defined in the syllabus as critical for each subject area. So they went and looked at certain subject areas, and they would determine if any changes can be made for certain subjects. Recommendations. No changes to be made to the SBA if the SBA as defined would not require any major adjustments as a result of COVID-19. So if the SBA does not require any major changes in terms of a country or a school having to do certain things, put certain infrastructure in place, if that's not an issue, then the SBA, there's no change to that SBA. But there are some SBA that require changes to the SBA requirements, reduction in the number of practical assignments. So yeah, some SBAs, the way in which it is structured, it has not changed, but for some subjects, like the sciences, biology, chemistry, and those things, you have a reduction in the number of practical or assignments. Changes to the approach to the implementation of the SBA. And also for some subjects like theater arts and those subjects, there will be changes made to the SBA. So you have to consult your teacher to know exactly what is happening in that regard. So changes to implementation approach to SBA. So for CSEC, geography, theater arts, visual arts, they're going to have certain changes to the implementation or the approach to which the SBA is done. These are some of these SBAs require you to be right there, mixing, mingling, stuff like that. But because of COVID, numbers have to be reduced and things like that. And so visual arts, theater arts, and geography, there will be some changes made to the approach of these SBAs. So you have to consult the teacher to know exactly what changes they intend to implement for your particular institution. Some changes include the fact that you can now videotape yourself doing certain practicals, certain pieces, you videotape yourself, send it to your teacher, and they would assess it, and also that video would be also assessed by the moderator for CXC. Because remember, all SBAs are going to be moderated, 100% SBAs and 100% schools are going to be assessed for this upcoming year. So again, some changes are going to be made for certain subjects as it relates to the approach to the SBA. So again, you have to discuss this with your institution so you know what changes are being asked for. Like I said before, for some you can use videotape recordings. Even for some practicals for sciences, like the ones you have to do on your own, you can actually videotape yourself doing it, and then you will be assessed based on what the lecturer or the moderator sees. So there are some changes coming. Changes to implementation approach to SBA, as we discussed before, for subjects that require the completion of fieldwork, sporting activities, performances, and other practical assignments. That's what we discussed earlier. Alternative approaches are encouraged and recommended. That's like I was telling you before. Videotapes, those kind of things. So everybody have a smartphone now, so you can teacher can ask you to tape yourself doing a dance piece for theater arts, or tape yourself performing certain skills in PE or whatever, geography, same thing, and then they can use that to assess your SBA, as opposed to everybody coming together because of this whole COVID thing. Some persons are not going to be in school as regularly as others. Some might have a shift system, things like that. So these are some approaches that CXC are recommending as opposed to the face-to-face mingling approach. No change to the SBA. Generally, for those syllabuses where candidates are required to complete a research paper, research project, or portfolio to fulfill the requirements for the SBA, no changes are recommended. So this is more when you have an individual project or an individual portfolio or something like that. You can do it on your own, so you don't need to mix and mingle. You can do it on your own, you can do it from home, things like that. So for those kind of SBAs, no changes have been made. Some SBAs like that includes, agriculture science, where you have to go and keep your portfolio, your record book. You can do it on your own. You can look at the field and record whatever you see. You have to do all the practicals on your own. You can call it by yourself individually, do the practicals, things like that. So most of these subjects you can do on your own, don't require anybody coming together and things like that. So that is why there are really no changes on the CXC level, CSEC level for these subjects. But the other ones, your theater arts, your visual arts, and geography and those things, they're recommending changes to the way in which they approached. Right? Not the content per se, but the way in which they are done. The strategy used to get them done. Reduction in the number of practicals and assignments, as I said before, for those subjects that require the completion of laboratories and practical assignments, recommending changes to the requirement for the SBA. Remember, we're looking at, and some people have a delayed start for the school season, the academic year 2021. That is why this is coming into play, because some people might not have enough time to cover all of the SBAs that they would have done on a normal year. So, reduction in the number of assignments to be completed, relaxation of some rules for completion of assignments for 2021 examination administration cycle. So subjects like I said, biology, chemistry, physics, integrated science, they have a whole lot of labs. Now they're saying the number of practicals reduced from 18 to 8, at least one practical assignment for each of the compulsory topics. Investigative projects remain the same, a single investigative project for the science cluster, right? So as opposed to doing one, if you're doing all the sciences, you can do a single investigative project for the entire cluster of sciences. So again, this really affects the sciences in particular, where they had a number of labs. Now you don't want too many persons in an enclosed space for too long. You remember COVID, that's one of the reasons why this is happening. Also because of the fact that due to COVID, some schools would have started later than others. And so to try to get as much in as possible, they have decided to reduce the number of practicals from 18 to 8 for subjects such as biology, chemistry, physics, integrated science, and some more. So again, talk to your teachers, let them let them tell you what's going on, so you know what moves to make. Revised examinations offering and options for the administration. So what they're saying here is that full administration in 2021 examination administered in its original format. So what they're saying, you're going back to paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, back to the original format, as opposed to 2020 where they only had paper 1s and the SBA. So now they're gone back to full paper 2s, paper 3s, paper 1s. And so also remember they amended the SBAs in the sense that back in the day, you would have just used samples from certain centers, 5 samples from certain centers, and not even all the centers on an island would have been moderated. But now they're gone to 100% moderation across all centers and subjects. So 100% across the board. Remember, this was a very contentious topic from the 2020 exam, where CXC stated that 60% of the SBA grades were changed. Right? So a lot of people expected higher grades, got lower grades, and vice versa. And so this was in part due to the fact that it started 100% moderation across all centers. And so that really showed some discrepancies between teachers and moderators and things like that. And so CXC feel as though this move, 100%, would keep the integrity of the SBA intact. And so that going forward, that's what they intend to do. Keep it as that. Alright, so of course, with the COVID situation, there's going to be some e-testing being done still. So there will be some e-testing in 2021, 2022. For the foreseeable future, e-testing is still a thing. And some subjects that are going to have e-testing only on the CAPE level, they're saying low volume subject entries, threshold 1,000 across the region over the last 3 years. So subjects that have had low entries, low participation, less than 1,000 or 1,000 across the last 3 years in the region. I mean, they're talking about the whole Caribbean region, and you're having subjects with just 1,000, right? So those exams are going to be subjected to e-testing. And then you have CSEC examinations, low volume subjects, entries, threshold 5,000 across the region over the last 3 years. So subjects that, just 5,000 or lower over the region across the last 3 years, they are going to be subjected to e-testing only. So I guess they don't want to employ all those resources on the ground for such a small number of candidates. And as such, they're going to go the e-testing route for subjects that have low volume. So if you're doing a subject where the numbers are always small, then expect to be doing the e-testing only. So syllabus coverage, again, back to what I was saying earlier, some schools starting later than others. So some people are wondering if the syllabus should be cut, content removed. So CXC is saying that the council cannot take a decision to reduce syllabus coverage without compromising the value of the certification. The scope and demand must be maintained to ensure that the construct remains the same. So you can hear what they're saying right now, that there will be no reduction in syllabus coverage for any of the products offered by CXC. No reduction in syllabus coverage. So you still have to cover the content of your syllabus. So teachers might have to do extra classes, Zoom classes, MSN Teams classes, Google Classroom classes, whatever. But there will be no reduction in the syllabus coverage for any of the products offered by the council. The syllabuses designed for various levels are intended to provide a comprehensive coverage of the requirement for candidates at that level. Any changes to program of studies at any level can prove disadvantageous to our stakeholders and impact the council's ability to compare results across years in terms of equivalence and certification. The construct has been clearly defined and validated for given subjects and for the different levels of examination and certification offered by the council. So they are saying they're messing with the syllabus right now. Normally every year they revise the syllabus, every time they revise the syllabus, every 5 years or so, but they are not taking out anything. So you have to cover your syllabus any way you can. So students, what you have to do is get your copy of the syllabus. They are free online. I did a video showing you some of my resources where you can get them from. So the CXC store has the syllabus. You can go download that syllabus, download it so that you can follow along and make sure that you are up to date with the syllabus content. Now here we go, some very important dates, 2021 examinations, administration dates for noting. So here we go, June 14th, written CSEC cake examinations begin. So we know that in the past, you used to call them the May-June CXC exams, but May is no longer a factor, so we extended to June. And so CXC begins for the June examinations, June 4th, 2021. Of course, nothing is written in stone. Things might, go worse than they are now, or even better. So we don't know. It's a work in progress. But for now, June 14th is when CSEC or CAPE examinations begin. July 16th, written CSEC CAPE examinations end. So from June 14th to July 16th, that's your examination period for July 2021. So make sure you note that. I think some of the timetables are already uploaded to CXC's website. So make sure you check regularly because they do update them on a regular basis. September 30th, 2021, submission of broadsheets to ministries of education. So the results are going to be coming back to your ministries on September 30th. On October 4th, meeting with the ministries of education, official release of results. So the ministry is going to get the results by October 4th. Then the 6th of October, release of June-July, so they change the moniker to June-July 2021, CSEC CAPE examination results to candidates. So October 4th is the date earmarked for the results to be released to the ministries in your country. And October 6th is earmarked for the date when results shall be released to the candidates who would have sat their exams, their June, July 2021 CSEC or CAPE exams. So keep those things in mind. And I'm pretty sure you realize that October 6th is after most tertiary level institutions would have started. So this might have implications for that. So sometimes they would use your fifth form scores, grades. So make sure that in your final year, you do your utmost best, because something they're going to use your transcripts for throughout the years to allow you to enter these tertiary level institutions. But then after the results come, there might be some adjustments being made. So make sure, even though you feel as though you're in fifth form or whatever, you can slack off in terms of classwork and schoolwork, don't do that. Make sure you keep your momentum straight through until it ends, so that you can use your results to enter a tertiary level institution, whether it is sixth form or university. So keep that in mind. So important dates again. Exams start June 14th next year, 2021. Exams end July 16th next year, 2021. 30th September, submission of broadsheets to ministries. 4th of October, the ministry is going to get their results. And the 6th of October, 2021, candidates are going to get their results. So keep those dates in mind. All right. So this was just a quick update as to some of the highlights of the meeting held up in the week with CXC and some of the HODs across the region. So there was more things discussed. Any other information I get, I'll bring it to you. So what you have to do now, you have to smash that like button, subscribe, and of course, hit the bell so you know when Learn SKN drops another video, whether it is an update from CXC, some lecture, past paper, we don't know. How you going to find out? Make sure you're in tune by hitting the bell. Make sure you subscribe so you know when CXC information is being released. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.